Okay.
Hello.
Alrighty, I think we have all of our pieces in place.
Perfect.
I'm nervous.
Why?
Okay, here we go. This is going to be fun. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Hello, Internet. I'm Lindsay Conway. Welcome to Crying While Driving. This is a safe space for queer conversations in a camper with a cocktail. First of all, huge thank you to my amazing, wonderful girlfriend, Andy, who this project would not have been possible without. And a huge thank you to my oldest, dearest friend for being the first person with us, Jordan, aka Baum Kuchie.
Ow, ow, ow.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
We have a garden gimlet for you today.
Ooh.
We also have Cooper and Gigi here with us, our delightful, sweet co-hosts, who hopefully, he's already jumped ship, so that's great. Okay, so garden gimlet. We're going to start off with some vodka.
Okay.
Trader Joe's finest.
In a beautiful glass.
Savers, baby.
Love.
We also have some jalapeno infused honey
Ooh.
from my little garden outside the camper.
Yes.
It's been infusing for a few weeks. It's not exactly as spicy as I would hope, but such is life. Oh, there we go.
It'll do the job.
So, Baum Kuchie.
Yes.
How was Baum Kuchie born?
Well, Baum Kuchie came about. I had always loved dressing up and just, a flair for the theatrics and the dramatics. And I was in Spain with my now longtime ex. And we were watching RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't remember which season, but I don't know what possessed me to even think. I think maybe I had a dream the night before that I was a world famous drag queen. And I decided. In Spain, yes. And I was like, I called my mom. I distinctly remember this phone call, calling my mom up and saying, I want to do drag. I'm going to do drag. I'm going to do all the things to be able to like really get deep into it. And so she was like, well, okay, cool. We need to figure out a name for you.
Yeah.
And so we were just talking and going over things about like my life and how we could come up with names. And they were just really horrible and kind of came to the consensus of like pastry, And so we were just like shooting out a couple of things. Cream Puff came up. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's already a drag queen.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
But it would have been a cute name, even if it isn't. And my mom was like, well, what were some of your favorite classes? Mm-hmm. And I remember telling her I was my Petit Gâteau and Entremets course, which I loved. And there was this one thing that I really loved was a Baum Kuchie, type of like really elaborate and beautiful Russian tea cake. And I kind of just, it rolled off the tongue, Baum Kuchie. And thus, it just kind of really stuck.
It's so good.
And that's how Baum Kuchie was born. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Of course. It's a pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy you're the first guest.
Me too.
So our garden gimlet, we have that jalapeno infused honey, some lemon juice, vodka, a little Graza extra virgin olive oil. Love this stuff. Have you tried it?
It's really good, yes.
Sponsor us. Maybe Graza wants to sponsor some queer content.
We love.
And we're shaking it in a repurposed jar.
Yep.
Because why not? We reuse. We reduce. We recycle.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah. So, how did we meet? Where did we meet? We've been friends for like over 10 years.
It's insane. We've been friends for, 13 years? 14 years this year?
That makes me feel old because we met our freshman year of college.
Yep.
At Johnson & Wales University.
Yep.
Culinary school. We met in the dorm.
Yep, we were neighbors. We were in South Hall. Um, I was in the teeny 4 quad room, and yours was just as teeny.
Yep, we were 4 people to a room
And
in good old South Hall.
we, I can't remember exactly who introduced us, but I just know that between my roommates and, I think it was your roommates, like, we just kind of all ended up meeting, and like we instantly became really like close, fast friends, really good connection, and that's really all she wrote from there.
Yeah.
Freshman year was such a crazy time,
It was a whirlwind.
but that was so much fun, and having you as a neighbor was always great because I'm like, that was my girl.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. This is my girl.
We were next door neighbors. Yeah, instant friends.
Get out. This is so good.
You know what? The honey is not as spicy as I thought it would be, but it's almost like vegetal in a way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. We have our tea lip.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, neighbors freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I was so drawn to you as a friend because you felt like somebody that I could be safe with in any version of myself I would become. Like, I felt that from you from the start. And I think that's why we've remained friends for all these years.
Easily.
You're somebody that's easy to grow with. So, I love you.
Oh
Thank
my
you for
god,
being here.
stop. I love you.
So the goal of this YouTube channel and podcast is to create a safe space for queer conversations. You are a gay man.
Yes, I am.
Do you want to tell us about your coming out story?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. This is a long one.
We have time.
So from a young age, I knew there was something different about me. And I would say that was as early as like 5 or 6 years old, just because I knew that, you know, I guess I wouldn't say I knew that there was something different about me at that time, but I knew that I had this, per se, crushes on boys and girls, but more boys. And I think maybe around 8 or 9 is when I like truly knew what like being gay was, without like all the nuances and the stigmas and everything. I just knew like there's gay people. There's men who like men, women who like women. Cool. And I think I like boys. But that still felt kind of weird because I'm like, I also have crushes on like some of my best girlfriends.
Interesting.
Which I realize now that it was just I was drawn to them because I like love the femininity, this like familiarity with being raised by women.
Okay.
So when I moved from Plymouth to Kingston, that was in 6th grade, that was a big shift because I was in the new kid. I was, going through puberty. I was really like realizing my sexuality, and it was a bit of a shame for me because I don't know, I didn't feel like it was okay, or that it would be okay if I were gay, and to be, out. I didn't know who would accept me. So if anything, I was my biggest like barrier. So I think it was 7th grade. I was on AIM, and I was
As we were.
as we all were.
As we all were.
I was chatting with this older boy. I think he was like 16 or 17. So, 7th grade, we're what, 12?
Yeah, sure.
Right? And we were just chatting, and it was like really innocent, nothing crazy. like really good conversation. And there was this moment where he was like, so does anyone in your family, like, does your mom know that you're gay? And I shit you not, pardon my French, my mom comes up, like, literally,
Oh, no.
she comes into the back room and is over my shoulder as he's typing that. And she's like, keep the conversation going. And I'm like, oh, God, Mom. And I'm like, well, she does now.
How
And
did
he's
that
like,
feel in that moment?
it was mortifying because I'm like, I'm not ready to come out. And this is a full-blown, like, outing without my consent.
Right.
And so that was so awkward. And my mom was like, end this conversation right now. Because she was like, I don't know who this person is that he's talking to. All she figured was it was some older guy.
Yeah.
And I was in danger.
Yeah.
So we had a conversation. Of course, I'm a preteen, so hormones are like all out of whack. And she's like, what was that about? I'm like, really moody and like pissy too. And I'm like, it's nothing. It's just some guy I talked to. And she's like, well, what's his name? How old is he? This, that, and the other thing. Giving me the third degree? Is that it? Whatever. And basically she's like, so what was he asking? What does that mean when he was like, does she know? And I'm like, that I'm bisexual.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my story for until 18.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, even there were multiple times my mom was like, you do you want to tell Nana? And I'm like, I'm not ready. And she's like, you know that Nana she would accept you no matter what. I just want you to know that. Like, she should know, but only when you're ready. And I promise you, I have a great belief that she won't have any issue with it. And so, like, I think that was sophomore year, I told my Nana. And at this point, it was my mom, my Nana, sophomore year. So 2 of my, like, really good friends who I was on the bus with.
Sophomore year of high school.
Of high school,
Oh, wow,
yeah.
okay.
And that was pretty much it. All the people who knew. And then I like was slowly getting more comfortable though. So I was like, I came out to my best friend Nick, who that was an interesting time in its own self, because I had a crush on him. And so I came out to him twofold on like being gay
The same time.
and also saying I have a crush on you. And he's like, I couldn't get it out though. I was like, let's play a game. Let's play the guessing game, this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, no, I don't want to play these games. I can't guess. I was like, I'm bi. And I really like you. And so he's like, that's it? Jordan, I love you no matter what. Like,
Best possible outcome.
right? That would never be an issue. The fact that you were, mulling over this is like, it hurts because I can only imagine. And like, mind you, this is like a straight man at that time, straight man, at 15, 16 years old. And like, he's having such like a mature way of approaching this and like saving space to make sure that I'm comfortable and okay.
Yeah.
And like, I'm crying at this point. And he's like, I love you no matter who you love.
Incredible.
And that's never going to change. I am not gay, but if I ever were, you would be the first person I'd go to. And I'm like, well, isn't that some shit? And then we continued the night. But
so this is also like 2008.
Exactly.
Right. So were there other gay people out in your high school? Because I know in my high school there was like maybe 1 or 2 men who were, you could kind of tell, but weren't out.
No one was out.
No one was out.
There was definitely 2 distinct guys who were very flamboyant,
Okay.
but not out.
Same. And we grew up in Massachusetts, a very liberal state, but even still in 2008, like, kids weren't really coming out in high school.
No.
No.
Nope. And if they were, like, they were just coming out to their very close friends.
Yeah.
And they were perfectly comfortable. Like, for instance, I think the 2 guys that I know that were very obvious. They probably were out to like very close friends, but they were so confident in their flamboyancy that really kind of should have or could have been an inspiration, but I just had my own things I needed to work through. And I was still trying to date women. Like, I had a crush on this girl sophomore year. She was bi, and like nothing ever had happened. And then senior year, there was this girl I dated for a minute, and that was really like bad. Because we went on this date, we saw Avatar when it first came out, and then we went out for food. We came back to my place. We hung out a little bit, and then my mom, it was like, she's got to go. My mom's like, you should walk her out to the car. I'm like, oh, yeah, I should do that, right? So I did.
Oh, boy.
And nothing happened. Like, she was devastated because she was like, did I do something wrong? Like, what? No kiss, obviously. But I knew in that moment, I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is me forcing at this point. And I'm upset that it's like halfway through senior year that I'm finally realizing this. Did I come out as gay still? No. Not until freshman year, like halfway through freshman year of college.
Still, the self-awareness at that age to be able to take a pause and realize this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I'm not aligned with this.
Yep.
Kudos to you.
Yeah. And with that whole situation with that girl too, it kind of got really bad before it got good. Because she basically was just really hurt and took offense to it, which I can't blame her. You know, teenage hormones, this, that, and the other thing. We're all trying to navigate our
identities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that that was like a shock to her, and so we didn't really have like good connection anymore. And then at the end of the school year, I like approached her and I was like, I'm sorry. I really feel like I shouldn't be, just because this is like me going through my own thing of trying to figure out who I am and what my sexuality is. But I still am sorry just for the way that things transpired and that I couldn't communicate to you. But this is what the deal is. And you are a spectacular woman, and I have nothing but love for you, amicably. But I am attracted to men, and that's why I couldn't give you what you deserve.
And you told her this freshman year of college when you had already come out?
No, senior year of high school.
Oh, okay.
So
pretty soon after the date, you were able to address this with her.
Yeah.
And the response was...
She was appreciative and grateful. She was like, I understand now. Because she actually really didn't expect that. She thought I just was some kind of asshole, Joe Schmo, who was just like, whatever, blow her off. But she was like, that makes so much more sense. And now I'm also sorry. But, like, I appreciate you coming to me with all of this. Like, I would love for us to still remain friends. And I'm like, me too. I'm glad that we can squash everything.
Again,
like,
best possible outcome.
Right? So that was my long, convoluted, crazy, denial, push down, coming out story.
I've heard longer.
I've
lived longer. I mean, my true full coming out took like over a decade. Yeah.
I know.
But we're not talking about me today. Do you want to go into at all your family structure and dynamics, and if that played a role in like any shame that you felt around how you identify? Yeah,
I'm definitely down for that. There definitely was. The family dynamic, patriarchy, definitely played a big role in my comfort level of like coming out and my own identity. And I wrote this poem earlier this year in March called an ode to a radical black man, and it's like a whole story about like twofold. It's my story, but it's also all black boys' story of just like what it is to grow up and go through life being a black boy into adolescence, into manhood, and like having these influences in your life that have been taught from other influences generations before them. And I look at my uncles as they had a perfect opportunity to step in as a paternal or at least some kind of male figure in my life, and a positive one at that, and they really never were around for that. They've gotten much better in years after, but to say while I was growing up, it was really my papa, my mom's dad, who was like the main father figure. And that's why he's on my ribs. And rest in peace. But like, even still with him, it wasn't ever perfect. Because I look at my great grandparents. They're from early 1900s. That generation, they're first generation children of immigrants, and not to say that they weren't accepting, but is a very male forward type of dynamic. So the female is always going to cater to the man, and they just have this whole mentality of like, I need to be served. And so that has always been something that kind of like was weird to me, because me being raised by my mother and my nana and a bunch of other female figures in my life, a lot of my mom's best friends, I never understood why they treated women the way they did, because I looked at women as something to be like admired, worshipped. They are like the closest thing to God.
Right.
Because they create life. And like, I value that. And they would be so misogynistic in ways that it was
family, the men in your family.
Yes, and it still are, but hey, it is what it is.
And that's a cultural piece.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And so everything was like very machismo. Like, if you were a boy or a man or whatever, you needed to be playing sports. You should have been playing football, basketball, that. You should be out doing hard labor. Music and theater, no, none of that. That's not like...
Is that traditional, like, Cape Verdean cultural norms?
I don't know if that's so much Cape Verdean as much as Portuguese.
Okay.
Because of the influence of the Portuguese rule over Cabo Verde for so long.
Okay.
That would be something I'd be very interested in, just like doing my own like research piece and figuring out. But as far as for my family, that's just like, that's always been a great dynamic, an unfortunate dynamic. And so as I got older, I won't lie, had a very rough upbringing. My mom's single mother. She had issues with addiction. And so, like, pretty much 8th grade to, like, end of high school was a really tough time, having to deal with, like, basically growing up on my own, and, like, really maturing quickly. So that definitely, dealing with my sexuality, going through high school, dealing with my at-home life, trying to maintain a social life, and also make people proud while like hiding my identity, because I'm afraid that if I'm too feminine, or if I'm not doing the standard expectations that I created in my head, that I thought other people had expectations of me, then that would be an issue.
Right.
That's why I did football in 6th grade, and I hated it.
Well, you were doing the best you could in the context of the culture you were raised in.
From the coconut tree.
Right.
You exist only in the context. Sorry.
We have fallen out of coconut trees.
But truthfully,
yeah,
I definitely would say that there was a big part of the male dynamic in the family that that made it so long for me to come out. So in that poem I mentioned, I basically went through, my biological father and his influence, and then my uncles, and like my distant uncle, who's even crazier, and then how that affected me in my identity and kind of putting on this whole facade and a mask, and then finally coming to terms with, who gives a fuck?
Right.
Like,
I can't imagine growing up under the pressure of having to uphold this sort of machismo cultural norm, pretending to be somebody that you aren't, and also being the male head of your household, representing your family.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. And I think to back on it too, because I'm like, I did drama. I was in drama since 6th grade, and music. I was doing band for since 4th grade. There should have never been any doubt in my mind that they didn't maybe already know, let alone that they would have been more than accepting of my sexuality. Because yes, I did mention that they could have done a much better job being influences in my life, but they did show up for the plays or the musical concerts and whatnot. So like they were supportive in those aspects. So there was no reason for me to truly be like, no, they wouldn't accept me.
Right, except for internalized misogyny.
That was the big thing.
Which runs deep and affects all of us.
That was the big thing. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
What are some of the best parts of being gay?
That's a good question. I don't know. Freedom of expression. I feel like that can go for anybody, but like I feel like at being in the queer community, LGBTQ in general, we are so, once we are in our identity, we are so like staunchly set in just having identity and being able to showcase that. And like I feel like we do it in a way that is just so undeniably like liberating and loud in a positive aspect, because I can't say like it's loud like we're just doing it just to be like, yeah, hi, I'm gay, but more so it's just like it's beautiful to be able to see someone living so freely. Additionally, I think, wow, I lost my train of thought. I was holding on to that little nugget. And I was like, no, I gotta go on this one first. Being able to like, I think that's what really helped when I got into college too, because I always had, like, I love my family and I'm a big family person, but even still, to this day, being like out and accepted and known that I'm loved no matter what, I still feel like there's this weird disjointed or disconnect from me and the whole family. Like I'm a whole different human being. And so being able to choose your own family as well, like you get to create the community, create the family you want in life, and that is something I think that is so beautiful. And that's not even me coming from like a truly downtrodden background of life. Yes, I've had a hard life, and yes, I grew up on like welfare and what not, but I had a roof over my head. I had a mother who loved me and accepted me, but well before I even accepted myself. Same thing with my Nana. But there's so many other people in our community that never have that, have never had that. And so the whole concept of chosen family is so beautiful, because there's always spaces. If you can make it to those places, you will be able to have people who love you and care for you and let you have that freedom of expression. And I don't know, there's just a certain joy in just being gay.
Yes, 100%.
I also think there's a lot more seasoning going on in being gay. It's like there's just I wish I knew French. Joie de vie?
Je ne sais quoi.
Something like that,
We'll
yeah.
ask Rochelle to fact check us.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Rochelle. Yeah, there's something about it that is just like, there's just this extra flair to life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's so true when you're living authentically.
Truly.
And when you find your community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Community is so important. That's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Visibility is important.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, and like, kind of off topic, but still on topic as far as like community. I think that is something that I had been still looking for. So like, while I was fully comfortable and confident in my coming out, you know, I really like dove deep into it too, freshman year, and never looked back. Like, I feel like I have only become a better version of myself with each year passing. Mm-hmm. But I realized in the last 4-ish years that there was still an aspect of community that I was missing. I never really had a lot of gay friends in college until I moved to Boston, and I still don't really have a huge amount of gay friends. But from just living fearlessly and going out into these spaces, you know, not that I don't have friends that would go with me, but not having like the fear of being able to just go out alone and make new friends has been really beautiful, especially I think as a gay black man too. There's a whole other aspect of like queerness rooted in like Afrocentric
Culture, community.
Yeah, essentially, because there is, I mean, there's inherently always going to be a difference anyways with that, but I feel the spaces that I've been in the last 2 years has been really, really great for opening up more doors, opportunities, and just like having a general understanding of like, or having people have a general understanding of yourself because they're going through a lot of the same things.
Right.
So I think that's another thing that's like really beautiful about being gay is that like the people you meet, yeah, we may come from a lot of different walks of life, but often we may have very similar, you know, things that we've struggled with. Yeah. So it's just always nice to be able to have that community to really fall back on and be like, hey, look, I'm having a hard time with this.
Yeah.
And I know that you were able to get through this. How did you do it? So what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's so important to find your people. And when you do, being surrounded by friends and loved ones that you have a sort of shorthand with can be so healing and like provide such a sense of relief.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
It really is.
So for someone who wants to be your friend or wants to be in your life in some capacity, what is the most important thing they should know about you?
Ooh.
Maybe somebody's listening to this and you are their perfect community person. They want to reach out to you. What is the most important thing to know about you as a friend or a loved one?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know right off the bat. I feel like I inherently, just from my past and whatnot, I always want to be able to help. Whether that's like lending a helping hand in like physical aspects, or mental, social, if you will. But I just always am like, I want to be able to help people. And that, like, kind of transpires into my career as well. But, like, especially with the people that are in my life and that I love and hold dear to my heart, that's ultimately what I want to be able to do. Whether it's like helping you through just something silly, like, hey, what outfit should I wear today? Not that one. That looks horrible. Let's see what you got. Or like working through a problem, whether I can offer just an ear so that you can vent. Or we can work through a problem. Or if you need advice. Like, I really love being able to help.
Yeah.
In whatever capacity I can. If it were a perfect world, I'd have all the money, so then I can be like, I mean, money doesn't buy everything, but like it can solve some things.
We're manifesting that for ourselves in 2024.
Exactly.
We are manifesting our needs being met and our value being recognized.
100%.
Yes.
Sparkle emoji.
Yes, sparkle emoji, disco ball emoji. Yeah, and I can vouch for everything you just said. You can always depend on Jordan for a shoulder, an opinion, and a laugh. Certainly. Speaking of career stuff, if you could be doing anything career-wise starting tomorrow, what would it be and why?
So I would be working in a nonprofit organization of, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I'd be very happy to work in the Trevor Project. They work for LGBTQ rights, a lot of HIV/AIDS related issues. Ultimately, I really want to work with the LGBTQ plus and BIPOC communities. I really think a lot of it is rooted also with like youth programs. I genuinely just want to be able to enact change in like policies, programs, or build programs that are definitively necessary for our youth that are having issues, like struggling with their identity. They've been displaced, this, that, and the other thing. Like, there's a lot of community out there that is needed to be taken care of. And they just aren't. And I can't remember the numbers, but like there's an exponentially huge population of homeless youth. And like I think of Miley Cyrus specifically because she's very big for homeless or displaced people, especially the youth. And I remember her doing something for them in California, and the number was astounding. I'm like absolutely disgusted, and I just want to know like the percentage of LGBTQ and BIPOC youth that is. Like, not to say that I don't want to help if they're not,
Right, of
but
course.
I'm just thinking of like the populations out there that are invisible.
Right, yeah, and we have to take care of our community before we can reach beyond that.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's ultimately what I would want to do. A reason why is plain and simple, just because it's the right thing. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, and ultimately we're like, we hope to reach the day where these jobs aren't even needed anymore.
Right.
Because I would love to be able to work myself out of a job.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't ever see that happening anytime soon.
In our lifetime.
I want to be very hopeful for it, but I'm also realistic. So until then, I'm like, this is my civic duty to be able to give back to the community. And also be that person who looks at, young Jordan and is like, it's going to be okay. You have someone who's looking out for you. And who knows, maybe that will inspire people to get out and do more, or just to be more confident in themselves, knowing that there are people looking out for them. Excuse me. So, yeah.
Jordan has a lot to give. We need to get Jordan working in the public sector.
Please and thank you. I'm looking
if
desperately.
There's anybody in public admin, let us know. Reach out. Follow us. Yes. Like and subscribe. Let's get Jordan a job in the public sector. Yeah, so thank you.
Of course.
I'm thanking you prematurely for your service to the community and the country.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Just a matter of months.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's maybe a move in your future.
Yes.
Yes. And hopefully that is moving you closer to career goals.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah. So I got my master's in public administration back in what year is it? 2022.
Right. What year is it?
Because of what year is it? That brings me to 2020. The reason why I decided to get my master's was it was the height of COVID. We had a lot of those riots, the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'd already really enjoyed doing a lot of volunteer work. I'd done volunteer work at homeless shelters. Well, you gotta say displaced shelters.
Yeah.
Now. That's the
houseless. Is that the
houseless shelters? Yeah. But I always enjoyed it just because not everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, so grateful. But it's just the people to be able to see, how grateful they are at the end of the day, and just knowing that we're giving them these opportunities for like a meal or some way to get back into the workforce or get back on your feet. I just always really enjoyed that. And then 2020 came. I had just dealt with a really, if you could call it, but not legit breakup, like a torrential breakup. So I was like so emotional as it was, and then that all happened, and
heartbreak is heartbreak. You were going through it, and it was valid and real.
Horrible time. But I think that was a really good catalyst because it allowed me to like utilize those emotions and put it towards the advocacy and doing the protests and volunteer work and whatnot. And I really, what the type of volunteer work that I was doing was for like voter registration, outreach for voters, and just making people aware of the climate in the country. And I loved it. And I'm like, I think I might get my master's. I should go back to school for political science was the original choice. And after finding the school and speaking with a student advisor, I told him what I was hoping to do, what my goals were, what I expected to get out of this degree. He was like, it sounds like more of a political administration degree that you'd want, and you could focus on government and policy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what's public administration? And he goes about it, and it's very broad field. Ultimately, like a governmental liaison or just like a servant for the public. Back in the day, you'd call that a bureaucrat, but like I feel like it's shifted so much that it's less rigid and less by the books. Yes, of course, it is still by the books, but people are actually looking out for people rather than just like, hey, look, well, this is all we can do.
Right.
Nothing else. Sorry for you. So yeah, I got my degree in public administration, and genuinely, I feel like I am getting off topic.
You're not. No, not at all. I am going to pause and ask if you can open the door because it's raining and Tucker has nowhere to go.
Of course.
Thank you so much. I would get up myself, but the cords are all...
No worries.
Thank you, Tucky Rux. So let's pivot a little bit. We touched on how COVID changed your world for the better when it comes to education. So we're both in our 30s.
Yes.
COVID changed everything.
Yes.
Certainly how we date, So in 2024, can I ask you, do you prefer to be single? Do you prefer to be partnered? Are you seeing anyone? Do you want to give us any juicy details? And do you need another cocktail?
I mean, another cocktail would be delicious.
We're going to make another garden variety gimlet because the first batch I made were teeny tiny.
And this is a really great drink.
Excellent. Thank you.
I was trying to be modest, and
the olive oil makes it.
It really does.
Graza, sponsor us.
Thank you, Graza.
So again, we have Trader Joe's vodka. We have some garden jalapeno infused honey, lemon juice, a little salt because we season our cocktails.
You have to.
On Crying While Driving. Mm-hmm. Any hoozle. Dating. What does your love life look like in 2024?
So, well, 2024 has been the year, first and foremost. I went out of 2023, which was definitely a trial and error year in the positive, because 2022 and, let's just say 2020 was basically all of 2020 to 22. I went into 2023 delusionally manifesting everything, and there has been,
as you should.
There has not been a single thing that I said I want that I haven't gotten outside of the $6 million. But
we're manifesting that.
That's coming a little bit later.
That's coming.
So, as far as dating, I would say I do love being in a relationship, but I am not rushing, as I have in the past. I've been single for almost 3 years now, which has been absolutely spectacular. I love it.
I love single you. I love partnered you, but I feel like you really let yourself settle into a new era, heal from some very real deep cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Heartbreak. Yeah, the heartbreak that was the catalyst to major life changes.
Yeah, and then I got into another stupid relationship, but that was whatever. That was a weird time.
On that? Oh.
Rightfully so.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, though. We
live our lives.
Yeah. That was part of the rebranding. Because ultimately, yeah, that relationship was short-lived. But it was a lot of growth, and it was very eye-opening for me in general, because I was so confident in myself at that point, and in knowing myself especially, that I was like, I will not enter a relationship unless I know that this person is willing to do whatever, do what they need to do to maintain a healthy relationship with me. Cheers.
Cheers.
But if they're not going to uphold that end, then I will call them out on it, and if it continues, then we have to end things, and that's what happened. So it wasn't even in that relationship, I feel like there was still single me, because we were also doing an open type of relationship together, not separately, but even still. So there was definitely the aspect of me being just so confident and just in a single mindset. I was doing my master's, and I couldn't be bothered to worry about any type of negativity, even if it is from my relationship. And so that's why things ultimately ended. And so, yeah, I've loved being single, and I said I will stay single and be happy being single, because I am an adult and I have a healthy sex life. I have since November, I've deleted all the dating apps. So I have actually just been doing organic meetings, which has been so amazing, because if you were to tell even 25-year-old me that I'd be doing that, I'd be like, no way, you're too scared to do any of that, shy boy.
Jordan, that is a bold move in 2024 to delete the apps. Especially, I think, being a queer person because nothing is necessarily obvious.
No.
So there's a very real level of confidence needed to approach people.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Tell us.
It kind of goes on with like how I was saying I don't have any issue going out alone. Like I do love having friends to go out with just because it's like it enhances the night. But if I'm going out on a whim because I'm like first I also just didn't plan on coming out, so like if I were to ask somebody last minute, chances are they're not coming, but I can go out. It's just really nice. I do need like a drink or two just for like
Liquid
loosening up.
courage. Yeah.
But I get on the dance floor and I just dance and I just like have such a good time, and I feel like me being so confident in my own body, in my space, and just like being amongst the crowd. Like I'm usually in the dead center to boot, where I'm alone, but there's like groups of like, you get couples, you get friend groups of like 4 to 6 together, and I'm the only person alone in the center. People either look at that and like, wow, sad, and I'm like, no, you're sad for thinking that. Or they're like, wow, that's inspiring, and people will approach me. I'm not afraid to approach people. And if I see someone and then I can catch their eye, then I'm definitely gauging whether they show a present interest or not. And if they do, I'm like, all right, let me make a little move. And I just like mosey on over. I give them a little smile and go from there and, strike up a conversation. And it doesn't have to be so complicated. Is it a little nerve-wracking? Sometimes. I genuinely am an extrovert, but I
Okay.
have introverted ways where again, like I said, if you asked me if I were doing this, or told me that I was doing this like 5, 10, 6, 7 years ago, I would say there's no way, because I don't approach people.
I feel that sentiment so deeply in my bones. Not when it comes to approaching people necessarily, but if you told me 10 years ago that I would be a lesbian living in a camper in my friend's backyard, self-employed.
No.
Oh, cue the thunder.
Hello.
She's a paid actor.
Yeah. Thank you, Thund. Yeah, so
Cooper.
it's been really, it's really nice. It's refreshing just to be able to get out there. And so kind of going back to your question about like single versus relationships, seeing somebody and whatnot, I think the way of me just deleting these dating apps has just forced me to have to meet people. Or just also not meet people and allow myself to just stay content with the fact that I feel like I've gone through a lot of the pool, if you will.
In this area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a motivating factor to relocate at this stage in life?
Yeah. Definitely. Because, I want more community. We can touch more up on that in a moment. But, being able to meet these people just organically is, I don't think you hear too often this day and age. That's like something of the past, like from the 80s, 90s, 70s, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I will say I am talking to someone. Can't make anything official because of the fact that we're in the process of hopefully moving.
Right.
But I met this gentleman. He's an absolute sweetheart. His name is Emilio.
Can confirm. The sweetheart.
When I was in Provincetown for Frolic Weekend, which is an organization, Frolic is an organization put on by a group of black queer men. And it's for men of color, or queer men of color. But it's a very safe space, so anybody can go. So shout out to Frolic. They really know how to make a community and a safe space for all, and put on such a great time.
Do they only do this event at P-Town, or do they do events around the country?
Everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they are mostly in New York, Boston, and Atlanta.
Okay.
They do have some events in California, but because like they have a lot of partners, they're trying to expand to get to other states. But as far as that goes, they'll have multiple events each year, and I think, kind of backtracking real quick, why I've been able to have such a great ability for community, and then eventually feeling really confident in like going out alone all the time, and then deleting dating apps, and then just having the best year of my life to date this year.
Fucking cheers to that.
Cheers to that, exactly.
2024, we've been waiting for you.
She is the one.
She is the one. She is the moment. She is here. She is queer.
She is very mindful, very demure.
Yes.
Very cutesy.
Very cutesy.
And is because of Frolic. They put on these events on Fridays. Every Friday is Bust Down Friday.
In Boston?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd heard about it many times.
I have to come to one of these.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. I'd heard about it many times, and I was like, I'm just going to go out, because it's Friday, and I work Saturday still, so normally I was going out Saturday nights,
right,
which is circuit night, which is lots of very judgmental environment, not the most diverse crowd,
okay,
but still a great vibe. And I think the only reason why I can fit in is because I look the way I do, and not to.
Well, this
like,
isn't
be
how
confident.
you normally look.
True. When I'm out of drag, I
also a smoke show,
and I think that's why I would fit in. But like, if you were someone who was a little bit bigger, or whatever the case may be, then probably not as welcoming. Oh. Whereas on Bust Down Friday, you have every size, shape, color, gender, non-gender, sexuality,
okay,
of all walks of life coming in, and it's exactly what the queer community needs to be always. Like, we have specific nights, like we have Bear Night, we have Brazilian Night and whatnot, but those are like certain niches, just so that everybody can be a part of like their little tribes.
Sure.
Which that's a conversation for another time also.
All of the labels, and
I think that inherently tribes it's another way to set us all apart.
Yeah.
But Bust Down Fridays, nothing like that. And I remember the first night I went, I was sore the next day because I was on the floor like dropping it low every 3 seconds. I had the best time, and every time I go, it's always the best time. And I could compare it to. I can't, because nothing's like New York. New York is New York. Clubs, going out is insane. But it's like very closely, like, as far as community and just energy and whatnot, very similar to New York. And so Frolic does that. I meet Emilio in P-Town, and he's a volunteer there. I really liked his look, and so I approached his booth table over a different volunteer booth table to get checked in. And needless to say, I had my eye on him the whole weekend, and I told him that at the very last day, after having multiple times of trying to, like, just have a moment with him other than just like in passing and like we're going from one event to the next.
Right.
This time I finally had a moment just with him all to myself, and I said, I have my eye on you. I really want to get to know you. I hope that we can stay connected because I don't know if we'll ever see each other again after this. And needless to say, we've seen each other quite a bit after that. I will be seeing him in September and October.
So cutesy.
Reason why there's no label is because he moved to Atlanta end of July. And when I found that out, though, I thought that was a very eye-opening moment because I had been for months already figuring out where I want to move. And in the last month, I had been really heavily set on thinking Savannah.
We've been talking about that for the past 2 years at least.
Exactly.
Georgia's been on your mind.
Georgia on my mind.
Georgia's on your mind. Can I ask you, are you nervous at all about relocating to the South?
Weirdly, no.
Okay.
It's so strange because I really thought that maybe I would, especially because of the way that this year has been politically and with our government. Yes. But even still, I was like, that's not going to stop me. I was almost willing to move to South Carolina, which is worse. It's mostly red state, whereas at least in Savannah, Atlanta, very blue areas. Yeah. Even if it's surrounded by red state.
There's queer community there.
Exactly.
Right.
And Savannah
pockets, I guess.
Has a huge queer community. There's
Incredible.
a lot of queer towns and cities in Georgia.
I had no idea.
Atlanta's not even the biggest.
Oh,
which is crazy to me.
Well, I'm relieved hearing that.
Yeah. So I don't have any concerns about moving to the South. And I think it took me a really long time to get to that point too, because reason why I realized I stayed in Boston for as long as I have is because I was like neglecting my own needs and being very selfless, looking out for family and friends.
There's that male head of the household cultural context coming in. That makes complete sense that you would feel that way.
Yes. I was like,
especially with the health issues your mother has experienced, and
yep.
She's your mother and your grandmother are everything to you. I think that's a totally reasonable position to have been in, but good for you for realizing that it's time to put you first.
Yeah, and I'd been putting myself on the back burner for quite some time. And there was a sense of fear as well. Of just like, I don't know. Like, okay, I'm also going to be moving into a completely new field of work. Like, I don't know. But I just said, this year is delusional manifestations. We're manifesting fears away. And it doesn't matter anymore because you just got to get into it, bitch.
Yes, you have to get into it, bitch. That's what we're doing right here today.
Exactly.
Getting into it.
Exactly.
Crying while driving home.